This one. Okay. So,
hello, sorry.
Good morning, everybody. We had a very enjoyable evening, and now we are on the home straight, absolutely, and we will start our working in a positive spirit, yes, and we do hope that our final day here in Tbilisi will be also very successful and fruitful for every one of us. So welcome to the last plenary session, and we will continue in this final plenary session our general debate on topical issues, and then we will have Treasurer's report. After that, Secretary General's report, and then consideration of committee resolutions and adoption of the final Tbilisi Declaration. An announcement of the results of the election of the Assembly officers. So, is this agenda all right for you? It is. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we will continue our general debate on topical issues. And you remember we have the time limit of 3 minutes, and we will follow that very carefully. And we will start with Darko Pajovic, and he is coming from Montenegro, and after him we will have Filippo Lombardi from Switzerland. But first, Pajovic from Montenegro, please.
Dear Mr. President, Secretary General, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to address the annual session of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. It is the great privilege to be with you here today, but also responsibility, having in mind very strong cooperation between this Assembly and the Parliament of Montenegro. Also, I would like to use the opportunity to thank the Parliament of Georgia for exceptional hospitality and excellent organization. As we all know, Europe today is not as secure as we want it to be. Lately, due to many different political, economical and military circumstances, we are witnessing new challenges that we have to face. I truly believe the current effort of the OSCE, direct to common, will introduce new instruments and measures in order to make Europe a safer place. We must stay strong in providing security for Europe by defending and promoting basic principles of OSCE. This year's session is devoted to building trust through the dialogue in order to find sustainable solutions. The trust, the dialogue, but also electoral process are in the focus in political development in Montenegro. Dear friends, mistrust concerning the election process brought together at the same table 11 of 12 political subjects represented in the Parliament, and after several months-long talks, they signed the agreement and cooperation between the government and the opposition. This agreement resulted in the establishment of the government of electoral trust, consisted of the ruling parties and, for the first time after introducing multi-party system, from opposition parties. Party that I lead, the Positive Montenegro, on the 27th January of this year, give a conditional support to the government, asking the entrance of opposition into the government. For the first time after 27 years, opposition undertook position in the government, including also ministerial posts in the ministries of Interior, Finance, Agriculture, Labour, Social Affairs, and as well Deputy Prime Minister. All of this results in a political stability which have ensured continued progress of the EU and NATO integration, a precondition for ensuring conditions for the free and fair election, of course, for the future democratization, further democratization of the society. Dear friends, it's my great pleasure to say that regardless of all many challenges we face today, we also have a political stability and we actively work on important of the electoral process. We have solved the crisis alone, without any international mediation, and we are so proud on this. I am sure that this is a good indicator of democratic improvement and political maturity, which we have achieved as a state. However, some problems and big challenges still exist, and we are aware of that. But we are working as much as we can to strengthen the confidence among many actors, and I believe that we will succeed in that. We have also established many new independent bodies dedicated to specific aspects of the electoral process. The Parliament of Montenegro established the Committee of Monitoring the Investigation of Cases of Against Security of Journalists and media outlets, while the process of establishing the Committee on Monitoring the Implementation of the Law and other regulations important for the building trust in the electoral process is going. Given that providing conditions for free and fair election is our goal, I believe that in the next few weeks and months we will make all necessary improvements in order to provide trust and acceptance of the election result. This will be a huge step toward building trust and decreasing the overall cleavage in a society that exists for the decades. Dear colleagues, I would like to use this opportunity to officially invite you to take a part in the monitoring process of the parliamentary election in Montenegro in October this year, having in mind that this Assembly and the OSCE have always been ready to help us when we need it most. As the President of the Parliament of Montenegro, I will do everything in my power to contribute that that process be itself. There is nothing to hide, and there is nothing that cannot be done for the goals we need to achieve. Parliament of Montenegro is making many important steps in this regard, and it is to be expected in the following weeks and months that we will have an active role in accordance with our responsibilities and our duties. As a final outcome of the overall efforts, I believe that next time we meet, everyone will witness political stability and democratically stronger Montenegro. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker of the Parliament. And the next speaker is head of the delegation from Greece, Georgios Varemenos. After Mr. Lombardi, he's first.
Thank you, Chair. Dear colleagues, the migration problem is getting more complicated as someone would expect, with the biggest migration flows after the World War II. Migration remains the major issue that has put to a test the EU unity's ability to respond in a crisis which surpasses the capacities of individual countries. It has to be dealt with collective and coordinated way, and not let the countries of first and try alone. My country, Greece, continue to do her utmost to rescue refugees fleeing from war. Not only the Greek authorities, but even the ordinary people, fishermen, old women, in an everyday struggle, rescued us so far around 150,000 migrants. These ordinary people of the islands, in my opinion, deserve a Nobel Award. Thousands of refugees are stranded in Greece, having behind them the war and in front of them the wall after the Western Balkan route closed. We strongly emphasize the need for all across involved fully implement the commitments already undertaken by all sides. We also emphasize an EU-Turkey deal, and we should avoid turning it to a bilateral deal by putting the burden of its implementation on Greece alone. We give great importance to effective implementation of NATO's activity in cutting the lines of illegal trafficking and illegal migration at the sea border between the eastern Aegean Greek islands and the Turkish coastline. No direct link has been established between mixed migratory flows and terrorism. There is, however, the need to register and check systematically all those who enter into Europe irregularly. Greece is already implementing her obligation in this respect. The possible use of these flows by foreign fighters who are nationals of EU members to return in Europe is an issue of great concern. Dear colleagues, the migration crisis is too crucial to let it to xenophobic powers, to demagogues whose action threatens to dismantle Europe and to drive in a war all against all. Donald Tusk, President of the European Council, has said that a Brexit would be the end of the Western civilization. But okay, don't be panic. We are not on the verge of the end of the Western civilization. But in the same time, we are not at the best moment of this civilization. We can make the situation much better. Thanks for listening, and thanks, Georgia, for the wonderful hospitality.
Thank you. And now, especially, I give the 5 minutes floor to Mr. Lombardi, because he is also reporting about migration issues, and that's why he can take 5 minutes time for his presentation. So, Mr. Lombardi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all. And actually, it's true, I'm not here for a personal statement or a statement on behalf of my delegation, but I'm here to report on the activities of the ad hoc committee on migration, which you decided, our standing committee decided to establish last February in Vienna, with the mandate to serve as a focal point for the OSCE PA's work in the field of migration in all 3 dimensions of the OSCE, which means crossing point also of our three general committees. So in order to develop policy recommendations and to promote discussion within the Assembly on issues related to migration, as well as promote parliamentary exchanges of best practices in these fields. You remember, 2015 has been, unfortunately, a record year concerning forced migration. According to statistics of UNHCR, 24 people were displaced forcefully last year. Every minute, 24 people every minute were displaced last year. As a result of this, of course, we have felt also in our Assembly, we can think on how many resolutions we've passed on this issue, also on the discussions we had in the plenary and in the committee meetings. The attention of the political world is finally concentrating on this issue. The OSCE cannot stay apart of this very important issue. We cannot say, okay, it's a matter for the European Union to deal with it. They will have a strategy, a common strategy. For the time being, they not really have a totally agreed common strategy. But in any case, even if we hope they will have one, it's not a business we can leave to the European Union. And on the other hand, the United Nations, of course, a very broad organization with a worldwide mission, cannot settle all issues in all regions. Therefore, OSCE, with 57 participating states, is the largest regional organization who has to deal with the problems of migration. For this reason, The German chairmanship established in March its informal working group on migration and refugee flows, which is gathering in Vienna with the ministerial representatives and experts. They had already 7 meetings. One of them were attended by our working group of the Parliamentary Assembly. The aim of this informal ministerial group is to draw a final report for the 20th of July, where the meeting of the Permanent Council of OSCE should adopt a ministerial declaration on this issue. So the governmental side is going ahead. Our impression is the parliamentary side must also work on this issue, and it is a task for our Parliamentary Assembly to be very present with an ad hoc working group. The ad hoc working group was constituted. It consists of 18 members. The first formal plenary meeting we had here yesterday, but we had already 2 activities because we had a field visit in France to Calais and Dunkirk, and we had the participation, as I said, in the ministerial informal working group in Vienna last week. We agreed in the working group to focus on the same 5 dimensions which have been identified by the ministerial informal working group in order to structure the work we are also willing to do. There are 5 areas of attention and intervention. Number 1, protection. Protection of the migrants, protection of all people around the routes. Second, combating crime. You know that the figures indicate a very, very worrying developing of the human being trafficking, which has become today the most important criminal field of operation, with billions of dollars involved, superior to the market for drugs and the market for prostitution all over the world. It is now the most important criminal activity from the financial point of view is trafficking of human beings in the field of forced migration. Number 3, border management, coordinated border management, so to avoid the chaos we had in several European countries last year. Number 4, successful integration of the migrants who have reached their final destination. Number 5, solidarity and partnership. We speak here of a new concept of shared responsibility, trying not to use anymore the inappropriate concept of burden sharing. So this is the work we are doing. We are continuing with this work with field visits and international meetings in the coming months. We will present interim report in Skopje and later in Vienna in February, and we tend to present a final report in our general meeting in 1 year in Minsk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you so much. And then we move further. So the next speaker is Igor Popov from Ukraine, and after him, Mrs. Ludmila Kozlova from Russia. First, Igor Popov.
Dear colleagues, for the past over 2 years, we have been seeking peaceful resolution to the crisis stemmed from the direct military aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, which resulted in the illegal occupation and annexation by Russia of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol, as well as conflict in Ukraine's region of Donbass. By resorting to aggression against Ukraine, the Russian Federation flagrantly violated the norms of international law and the OSCE principles and commitments. In view of the upcoming parliamentary elections in Russia, scheduled for 18th of September this year, we wish to emphasize non-recognition of any attempts by the Russian Federation to use the above elections for legitimizing the illegal occupation and attempted annexation of the Crimea Peninsula. We particularly caution in relation to possible attempts by Russian Federation to bring international election observers, including the OSCE PA members, to the temporarily occupied Crimea. We stress on the unacceptability of the election observation and any other election-related activities on the temporarily occupied Crimean Peninsula, which is Ukraine's integral part. The territorial integrity of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders was reaffirmed by the United Nations General Assembly resolution, Territorial Integrity of Ukraine, which forms part of international law. In particular, the aforementioned UNGA resolution calls upon all states, international organizations, and specialized agencies to refrain from any action or dealing that might be interpreted as recognizing an alteration of the status of Autonomous Republic of Crimea and City of Sevastopol as an integral part of Ukraine. We call on the OSCE Parliamentary Assemblies to strictly observe the aforementioned UNGA resolution, the OSCE principles and commitments, and take appropriate measures to prevent the participation of the OSCE PA and its members in the election observation in the temporarily occupied Crimea. We also expect that the OSCE PA will continue to be guided by its Bureau unanimous decision of 18 of February 2015, which refused to recognize as a member of the OSCE PA a person represented not a Russian territory entity, but an illegal de facto authority of Ukrainian territory. We call on the OSCE PA to refrain from any compromises with the Russian side on conducting international observation during the parliamentary elections in Russia, which could obscure the violations by Russia of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, as well as of the norms of international law, the OSCE principles and commitments. Dear colleagues, mid-September is perfect time to spend...
The time, please. Thank you, Mr. Popov. Thank you very much about your contribution. And then we move forward, and the next speaker is Mrs. Lyudmila Kozlova from Russia. And after her, there will be Mrs. Muradova from Azerbaijan. But first, Kozlova, please.
Господин председатель, господа парламентарии, я хочу остановиться на тех моментах, которые вызывают озабоченность и над которыми стоит нам всем задуматься. Прежде всего, это двойные стандарты. Мы много говорим о миграции и ее негативных последствиях. Понимаем, что бороться с избыточной миграцией можно только воздействуя на причины. А основная причина миграции – вмешательство известных стран во внутреннюю политику суверенных государств, во главе которых стояли неугодные правители, которых они благополучно смещали совсем не демократическим путем с последующим варварским лишением жизни. Это и привело к дестабилизации, конфликтам на межнациональной почве, гражданской войне, гибели людей, в том числе детей и женщин, и массовому исходу людей из своих стран. Удельный вес причин в этом процессе, других причин, очень невелик. Но почему мы об этом не говорим? Почему не расследуем эти преступления? И не называем тех, по чьей вине это произошло в странах, где еще недавно был мир? Где и даже выдуманную бомбу как повод для бомбежек не нашли, и где наши осуждающие резолюции. Далее, почему при обсуждении любого вопроса мы льем поток грязи на Россию? Это делают даже те, кто не был в Крыму и Севастополе, кто сам не видел ничего и говорит со слов тех, кто вместо наведения порядка в своей стране делает все, чтобы вызвать негативные отношения к России, не брезгуя заведомо ложной информацией. И не потому ли, коллеги, мы не приняли явно разумные поправки, внесенные российской делегацией, что часть из нас попала под очарование этой лжи. Как пример, как можно было не понять, что бороться надо не только с антисемитизмом, но и с христианофобией и и исламофобией. А ОБСЕ оказывается против этого. Меня крайне удивило и не убедило объяснение, почему это правильное и разумное предложение нельзя было принять. И последнее. Хочу ответить на ежедневные потоки лжи по поводу Крыма. С чего все началось, когда Крым был еще в составе Украины? Вы забыли или хотели забыть? А началось все с государственного переворота. совсем не демократического свержения главы страны. Что мы сейчас будем поощрять? Такие поступки, подобные поступки в других странах. Вы забыли Одессу и горевших людей, на которых смотрели украинские полицейские и не пытались даже им помочь. Почему до сих пор этот факт не расследован? Вторжения России в Крым не было, как и не было вмешательства во внутреннюю политику, а был референдум. 90% крымчан пожелали вновь, как и раньше, жить в России. Было обращение к президенту правительства Крыма и было одобрение парламента России. И именно поэтому в это время не пролилась кровь людей, и все было сделано цивилизованно. А что касается так называемых лидеров крымских татар, как можно говорить, что они болеют за свой народ, когда эти люди практически оставили жителей Крыма без тепла, света, воды и продуктов? В заключение хочу поблагодарить парламентариев ОБСЕ за работу и очень надеюсь, что сегодня вы меня не только слушали, но и услышали. Большое всем спасибо.
Thank you. Very good. And the next speaker will be Mrs. Muradova from Azerbaijan, and after her, Jerry Putimer from Ireland. But first, Mrs. Muradova.
Спасибо, уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги. За 25 лет парламентской деятельности многое изменилось в регионе. Изменения породили развитие, а развитие – проблемы. Каждый год нашим девизом были различные, но самые актуальные вопросы. Мы старались достичь сбалансированного подхода по всем трем измерениям ОБСЕ. И сегодня, по происшествию 25 лет, мы сталкиваемся с событиями, которые ставят под сомнение преимущества основных принципов ОБСЕ. Это особо чувствуется здесь, в Грузии, на древней земле Южного Кавказа, в стране, перенесшей много трудностей и противостояний. А в центре нашего внимания были кризис беженцев, проблемы в сфере прав человека и гражданского общества, борьба с насилием и коррупцией и так далее. С сожалением нужно отметить, что мы еще не смогли создать единую антитеррористическую сеть для борьбы с террором. Наряду с достижением консенсуса все еще существует своеобразная практика, препятствующая координации деятельности между ОБСЕ и ее институтами. Несмотря на все это, у нас есть неизменные, всегда актуальные и значимые принципы Хельсинского заключительного акта. Нас также тревожит терпимое отношение и к нарушению этих принципов. В связи с этим затяжные конфликты в регионе продолжают серьезно волновать нас и представляют большую опасность Европе. Интересно, что и Азербайджан отмечает 25-летие сталкивания с таким отношением. Хотелось бы особо подчеркнуть обсуждаемую в эти дни резолюцию по проблемам, с которыми столкнулись Грузия, Украина и Молдова. Довожу до вашего сведения, что мы всегда вступаем за независимость, суверенитет и территориальную целостность всех государств. Мы вступаем против их изменения с использованием силы и поддерживаем разрешение всех конфликтов на основе международного права и принципов Хельсинского заключительного акта, в том числе, конечно, и в отношении Грузии, Украины и Молдовы. В конце своего выступления хочу выразить благодарность нашим грузинским друзьям за гостеприимство и за то, что создали столь прекрасные условия для возможности высказаться и внести наш вклад в укрепление ценностей ОБСЕ. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you. Excellent. We take the next speaker, and he is Jerry Putimer from Ireland. After him, Doris Barnet, head of the German delegation. Jerry Putimer, please, the floor is yours. Okay, so he's not in here. How about Doris? Are you ready?
Ja,
Please.
vielen Dank, Herr Präsident. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, wir sind jetzt 25 Jahre alt, unsere Organisation, und wir sind damit auch erwachsen geworden. Das heißt, wir können und sollen mehr tun, und über das Tagesgeschäft hinausschauen und nicht das fortsetzen, was die offiziellen Verlautbarungen unserer Länder sind. Erstens kennen wir die und wir wissen auch genau, wohin die führen. Wir müssen jetzt Probleme angehen und es gibt immer mehr als nur diesen einen Weg. Wir haben uns selbst jetzt mit unserer Tbilisi-Deklaration, die notwendige Ellenbogenfreiheit auch verschafft und sollten da nicht dahinter zurückstehen. Wir sollten sie im Gegenteil jetzt umsetzen. Und wir sollten viel mehr miteinander statt übereinander oder sogar gegeneinander sprechen. Wir brauchen Ergebnisse. Unsere Wählerinnen und Wähler, die Menschen in unseren Ländern, erwarten Lösungen der Probleme. Und die können wir nur hinbekommen, wenn wir selbst an den Erfolg glauben und ihn auch wollen und nicht sofort immer darauf bestehen, nur 100% der jeweiligen Position durchgesetzt zu bekommen, nach der Methode entweder alles oder nichts, sondern vielmehr Schritt für Schritt, aber in die richtige Richtung nach vorne gewandt, statt nach hinten. Und das bitte fair für jede Seite. Es gibt Kräfte, die kein Interesse an starken Parlamenten haben. Aber wir haben uns, wie gesagt, jetzt einen gemeinsamen Spielraum geschaffen. Und den sollten wir in unseren Ländern nutzen. Setzen Sie diese Deklaration in Ihren Heimatländern um, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen. Machen Sie die Deklaration zum Teil Ihrer nationalen Politik und sorgen Sie dafür, dass wir als Abgeordnete immer genug Geld haben. Denn die Regierung hat das, wenn sie sich treffen will, für sich. Aber uns beschneiden Sie die Mittel, wenn wir uns treffen wollen. Sorgen Sie dafür, dass wir immer die ausreichenden Mittel haben, dass man uns nicht verwehrt, auf Konferenzen, auf Seminare, auf Treffen zu gehen. Wir können die Welt dann nämlich in der Tat etwas sicherer, transparenter, auf jeden Fall ein Stück besser machen. Ich danke Ihnen allen an dieser Stelle auch für Ihre tolle Mitarbeit an diesen sicherlich nicht einfachen 3 Tagen. Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And next speaker is George Tsereteli from Georgia. And after him, Mikhail Melkumian from Armenia. But first, Mr. Tsereteli, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. Of course, I'm especially delighted to see what's happening those days in Tbilisi. I would say it's a historical meeting for my country, for my region, and I deeply appreciate that you all came to Georgia. We have very interesting discussions here, and I think it will strengthen our personal ties and will strengthen the unity of this assembly. And as a Georgian, I'd like to state that I'm very much satisfied with the organization of this meeting because, I have 2 capacities here, and I'm representing assembly and at the same time representing my country as a host. So I appreciate what was done, and you are all participants of this very, very positive endeavor. I think that we will reflect all the complexity of this current affairs and politics in our resolution and final document. So we touched all the painful issues here, but what's very important, we had a very constructive debates in this hall. And I think that we have a lot of things to do ahead. As Doris said, we're representatives of our people, and we are parliamentarians. We have responsibility. We have to fight, talk, but at the end of the day, we have to be united to uphold the main principles this organization based on. And I would like to just highlight a few general things, how I see and what we have to do based, of course, on our common vision, that we have to bolster the cooperation across the lines of political and national interest with regard to transnational challenges. whether terrorism, migration, human trafficking or cybercrime, as well as on the resolution of both protracted and new conflicts within the OSCE area. We have to maximize the effectiveness of our field operation. It's very important for the elections, crisis situations, or post-conflict reconciliation through principle, consensus building with the Parliamentary Assembly, and direct, efficient, and result-oriented engagement with all governments. Strengthen our cooperation with the OSCE institutions. It's really crucial for us. And with all other assemblies, and this will give really another strength to our work. We have to ensure the gender-sensitive approaches that are taken in all assembly activities, in particular regarding conflict prevention and resolution, and to foster closer dialogue, and I think it's very important, closer dialogue with youth, and we have to try to do that together. We have to increase transparency of our assembly, and I think we will work very closely with Secretariat with that. And finally, what I'd like to say, we need reform, and I especially like to mention this document. This is the vision of our President Kanerva and the current leadership, and this is a very important document, how we have to go forward, how we will move forward. And one of the main things here, we have to, and we have view, we really have view and respect of the main commandments that we have in this assembly. Those are our Helsinki principles, and I guess this assembly will be strong and successful in coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now we take Mikhail Melkomian from Armenia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, chers collègues. D'abord, je veux remercier à tous d'avoir organisé notre session. Mais en même temps, parallèlement, je pense que vous devez savoir quelque chose concernant les membres des pays de notre organisation. À l'époque actuelle, il est très important que les institutions internationales donnent une appréciation juridique et politique concrète à la guerre de 4 jours éclatée début avril entre le Nagorno-Karabakh et l'Azerbaïdjan. Comme vous le savez, le côté arménien donne la priorité au format du groupe de Minsk de l'OSCE. Il faut condamner les opérations inhumaines sans précédent entreprises par Aliyev à l'égard de la population pacifique avec un emploi massif d'armées de destruction. Les Azéris ont attaqué la population pacifique dans le village Talish, Mataris, la ville de Martakert et autres. Ils ont mutilé les cadavres de victimes en coupant tête, oreilles et autres membres du corps. Il faut également prendre des mesures concrètes pour instaurer des mécanismes de surveillance et de détection sur toute la ligne frontière pour fixer les cas de la violation de cessez-le-feu. Il est nécessaire que le Nagorno-Karabakh revienne autour de la table de négociation. Chers collègues, notre organisation est une institution puissante et forte, et je suis sûr que toute injustice recevra une appréciation équitable au sein de notre organisation. Nous vivons dans un monde qui change rapidement et le phénomène d'une ancienneté de 10 ou 20 ans sont traités déjà par un autre système de valeurs. Cependant, le sens de la liberté et de la justice et les critères de leur perception sont de valeurs éternelles. Déclencher des opérations militaires avec le seul but de conserver son pouvoir est sans doute inadmissible et le fait que cette entreprise d'Azerbaïdjan a été un échec total n'est pas fortuit. Le président d'Azerbaïdjan doit comprendre que le Nagorno-Karabakh est invincible. Et finalement, chers collègues, je veux répondre à collègue de la délégée de Turquie concernant le génocide arménien en Turquie ottomane. Encore une fois, je veux répéter que le génocide s'est fait et je ne veux pas prouver cette fact. Et beaucoup de pays déjà ont connu le génocide arménien en Turquie. Merci pour votre attention.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And then Ilya Kostunov from Russia, and then we travel to Greece with Mr. Voridis. But first, Ilya Kostunov.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, хочу напомнить, как зимой в Вене в 2014 году рассматривался вопрос Украины. Украинские власти тогда приостановили процесс подписания соглашения об ассоциации с ЕС, так как посчитали их невыгодными для Украины. На Украине тогда уже бушевали митинги протеста при непосредственной поддержке Соединенных Штатов и ряда стран, следующих в русле американской политики. Послы, депутаты, представители Брюсселя были непосредственно на Майдане. Что это было, как не грубое вмешательство во внутренние дела Украины? Российская Федерация призывала тогда услышать опасения и не разжигать протесты на Украине. Тем более, буквально через полгода были бы выборы президента. Но на Украине произошел вооруженный государственный переворот. Вместо правительства согласия было создано правительство победителей, когда захватившие власть на Майдане решили за всю Украину. Преступления того периода до сих пор не расследованы. Не найдены и не наказаны те, кто обливал горючими веществами и убивал милиционеров на Майдане. Не найдены снайперы, которые убивали как милиционеров, так и активистов Майдана. Есть серьезные доводы, что эти снайперы были подконтрольны спонсором Майдана. Потом были десятки политических убийств, сожжение заживо 50 людей в Одесском доме профсоюзов. Все эти преступления не были расследованы. Виновные не наказаны. Когда Юго-Восток Украины потребовал учета их мнения и собрали свои Майданы, им ответили карательной операцией. Отправили танки и самолеты на города Луганской и Донецкой области. В результате войны погибли тысячи мирных жителей, женщин и детей. Их убило правительство Украины. И эти преступления здесь тоже не обсуждаются. Минские соглашения Украины не выполняются. Нет амнистии, нет прав у регионов, нет отвода тяжелых вооружений, что регулярно фиксируют наблюдатели ОБСЕ. Экономика Украины рухнула. Людей пытают и преследуют. Это признал и Комитет ООН по противодействию пыткам, который в мае досрочно покинул Украину. Хочется спросить, вы именно этого хотели, когда 2 года назад поддерживали Майдан? При этом украинские политики говорили про жителей Донбасса следующее. Надо обещать этим мразям все, что угодно, давать любые гарантии, а вешать их будем потом. Неудивительно, что народы Крыма решили объявить о независимости. Господин Штайнмайер упомянул в своем выступлении поговорку «Лучше 1 раз увидеть, чем 100 раз услышать». За 2 прошедших месяца Крым посетили порядка 100 тысяч украинских туристов. В прошлом году в Крыму отдохнули почти 5 миллионов туристов, в том числе 460 тысяч граждан Украины, включая 1000 украинских военнослужащих. И это в условиях продуктовой и энергетической блокады, организованной украинскими некоторыми организациями. Приезжайте в Крым, поговорите с людьми, увидите все своими глазами. В завершение я хотел бы выразить благодарность всем людям доброй воли, которые голосовали без учета блоковой логики и психологии холодной войны. Спасибо, господин председатель.
Excellent. Thank you. And then Magis Voridis from Greece, and after him, Mr. Anton Herachenko from Ukraine.
Thank you, Chair. And let me start by thanking from my heart Georgian Parliament, its President, but also George Tsereteli, the head of the Georgian Delegation in our organization, in our assembly, for an amazing organization. It was a wonderful, perfect, organized meeting. And we owe it to you. Thanks, really. I think we should give a warm applause on this organization. It was really something unique. I just here want to mention one small thing. there was indeed something a bit peculiar and original in this organization as far as our interna corpore is concerned, which is we did have the announcement and notice of a Georgian party against one of our candidates for the presidency in this assembly. I think we're not used to that. We all know what to do. We have our groups here, their groups take position. I think that was a bit peculiar and unprecedented, but it's a minor thing. It doesn't matter. We go on with this. I do want to thank President Canerva, but also Roberto, our secretary, because in a very small period of time, it's only 6 months, that they managed to make our assembly much more visible and much more important on the ministerial OSCE. And this is something that we did not have in the past. We had a lot of tensions, which are now in the past. We move in a very positive way. And one sign of this visibility was the participation of the Ad hoc Migration Committee in the interworking group of the ministerial OSCE. This is so good because we can coordinate our work and because everything will go in harmony. This is thanks to the President and the General Secretary, and we owe it to you. This will be remembered. A third thing is, now as we are talking, in my first intervention the first day, you remember that I noticed how terrorism now is one of the major threats in our area. And again today, there is something that shows that the terrorism has no borders. Medina, the holy place for Muslims, was attacked by terrorists yesterday. And this is, of course, something that must be condemned. But something that, again, OSCE is a unique place. It's this holistic, comprehensive approach, and it's thanks to the OSCE and the Assembly that now migratory flows are becoming a security issue. We need to have a common policy on terrorism, and at the end of the day, amending, we should remember one thing. Our people demand safety from us. This is the main reason of existence of the state. And this is something that parliamentarians must achieve, and we have to do it now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Roberto Montella and me, we think that it was a very good speech. Thank you. So the next speaker, Anton Herachenko from Ukraine, and then Mrs. Hasanov from Azerbaijan. In this order.
Уважаемый председательствующий, уважаемые члены парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ, попытка Российской Федерации аннексировать Крым и российская агрессия в отдельных районах Донецкой и Луганской области Украины подрывают фундаментальные ценности ОБСЕ как региональной организации по безопасности, которая была создана для установления мира на европейском континенте, достижения большего сотрудничества между государствами Европы, сохранения и воплощения в жизнь демократических идеалов и принципов. Вооруженная российская агрессия против Украины, аннексия Крыма и оккупация части Донбасса – это не только война за территорию. У России большая территория. Это война мировоззрений, это война против свободы и демократии. И Украина, и украинцы сегодня защищают и гибнут как раз за свободу и демократию в Европе и во всем мире. Мы высоко ценим важную консолидирующую позицию наших партнеров в вопросе преодоления экономических санкций против России в связи с невыполнением Минских соглашений. Санкции были введены в ответ на агрессию России против Украины. И они должны оставаться в силе до тех пор, пока Российская Федерация не выполнит взятые на себя обязательства. Несмотря на согласованные в ходе недавних заседаний нормандского формата и трехсторонней контактной группы договоренности о прекращении огня, ситуация на Донбассе продолжает ухудшаться из-за регулярных нарушений России и поддерживаемых боевиками положений Минских соглашений. Оружие, боеприпасы и горючее продолжают поставляться из Российской Федерации для поддержания эскалации в отдельных районах Донецкой и Луганской областей Украины. В свою очередь, Украина будет продолжать добросовестное выполнение Минских соглашений. Мы будем делать это, несмотря на то, что другая сторона продолжает нарушать свои обязательства. Мы считаем, что нет альтернативы политическому решению. Тем не менее, необходимо применять эффективные международные инструменты для поддержания дипломатического пути решения этого конфликта. Без глобального давления Россию не остановить. И это давление должно поддерживаться, пока Москва не зароет окончательно топор войны и не начнет уважать суверенитет своих соседей. Одни лишь санкции займут слишком много времени, чтобы достичь своей цели. Вот почему важно дополнить их широким и эффективным международным присутствием на Донбассе, чтобы помочь реализовать мирный Минский план настолько быстро, насколько это возможно. Мы считаем, что именно вооруженная полицейская миссия под эгидой ОБСЕ, развернутая на всех территориях, пострадавших от конфликта, может гарантировать создание необходимых условий для достижения прогресса по политическим аспектам Минских соглашений, включая проведение местных выборов в отдельных районах Донецкой и Луганской области под эгидой ОБСЕ. Наша формула мирного урегулирования проста. Вывод российских войск с территории Украины, проведение местных выборов на Донбассе в соответствии с законодательством Украины и стандартах ОБСЕ и восстановление полного контроля над государственной украинской границей с Россией. В ближайшие недели необходимо достичь всеобъемлющего и устойчивого прекращения огня, а также вывода всех оккупационных войск Российской Федерации с территории Украины. Кроме того, ОБСЕ должна получить полный и беспрепятственный доступ ко всем оккупированной территории, в том числе вдоль российско-украинской государственной границы и в Крыму. Призываю также парламентариев государств-участников ОБСЕ сохранить в центре внимания крымский вопрос и запустить международный механизм деоккупации полуострова. Это будет первым шагом к возрождению хельсинского духа сотрудничества в регионе ОБСЕ. Украина будет принимать все меры по поддержанию на повестке дня европейской мировой политики вопроса незаконной оккупации территории Автономной Республики Крым и города Севастополя. Как беспрецедентного факта нарушения международного права после Второй мировой войны, о котором будут писать в учебниках истории еще и через столетия. Касательно Крыма, особая обеспокоенность вызывает системные и массовые факты нарушения оккупационной властью фундаментальных прав и свобод человека, принуждение гражданства РФ.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Excellent. Very kind of you. And then Mr. Hazanov from Azerbaijan, and then Mr. Karayel from Turkey. Okay, please.
Благодарю вас, господин президент. Я бы хотел начать свое выступление по-другому, но прискорбно, что такая авторитетная международная площадка, как Парламентская ассамблея ОБСЕ, используется как место для пропаганды и оправдания этнических чисток и оккупационной политики, проводимой Арменией. Вызывает как минимум недоумение, что представитель страны, высший руководитель которой признался в осуществлении геноцида против азербайджанского мирного населения, в частности в Ходжалы, сегодня рассуждают о мире и справедливости. Всем известно, и это признано международными организациями, что Нагорно-Карабахский конфликт не существует. Есть конфликт между Арменией и Азербайджаном. Всеобъемлющая безопасность лежит в основе деятельности ОБСЕ, противостоящей многочисленным вызовам глобальной безопасности, стабильности и развития. В принятых документах мы подчеркнули, что все три измерения безопасности одинаково важны. Только с помощью комплексного подхода мы можем добиться в деле устранения негативного воздействия неблагоприятных факторов на развитие событий в нашем регионе. В связи с этим отсутствие должного внимания ко второму измерению является прискорбным. Фактически потенциал экономического и экологического измерения остается недостаточно использованным. Продвижение экономических прав, повышение прозрачности государственных структур и борьба с коррупцией имеет крайне важное значение в улучшении повседневной жизни наших граждан. И эти вопросы остаются в повестке дня для наших обсуждений. Я особенно приветствую, что Германия, как председательствующая в ОБСЕ страна, вызвала экономические связи в качестве одного из своих приоритетов в рамках второго измерения. Поддержка развития региональных и межрегиональных транспортных коридоров имеет большое значение, а упрощение таможенных и торговых процедур, пресечение границ существенно повлияет на экономическую безопасность в регионе ОБСЕ. Инициативы в этом направлении заслуживают поддержки Парламентской ассамблеи. Я твердо убежден, что Парламентская ассамблея должна рационализировать свою работу, направленную на активизацию второго измерения, и мы должны активно искать пути дальнейшего вклада ассамблеи в развитие экономических связей в регионе. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you very much. And then Mr. Karayel from Turkey, and after him Mrs. Chambers, Ireland. Mr. Karayel.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would like to mention that today is the beginning of Holy Ramadan. holiday for Muslims. It is the end of the Ramadan month, and I would like to mention this, and I would also take this opportunity to thank Georgian colleagues and Georgian people for the hospitality. Unfortunately, I will start with mentioning about what my Armenian colleague said. He mentioned about so-called genocide, but I will draw your attention to the ethnic cleaning took place in 1990s and happened in Nagorno-Karabakh. So instead of speaking of so-called genocide, we should leave it to the historians, which Armenian colleagues and Armenia never wanted to come to table about this matter. And now I would like to continue to my speech, expressing my gratitude for the expression of condolences and sympathy voiced during the annual session over the terrorist attack at Istanbul Atatürk Airport on 28 June. While grieving for Istanbul and before that for Paris and Brussels and Orlando, we are saddened once again by the news of the terrorist attacks in Dhaka on Friday and Baghdad. And now U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia and Medina. Terrorism unfortunately struck again, claiming the lives of the hundreds of innocent people, ordinary civilians from different walks of life and nationalities. The fight against terrorism was largely covered during our discussions these couple of days. However, I would like to take the opportunity of the plenary session to highlight some thoughts. We are going through such days that even a quick recall of recent terrorist attacks isn't easy. On no place is safe from terrorist threat, as evidenced with the nature and the increase in numbers of terrorist attacks in our region and beyond. Turkey has been countering terrorism in different forms and manifestations of decades now. Since 1984, more than 40,000 people lost their lives because of PKK terrorism. While fighting PKK, Turkey is now confronted also with Daesh terrorism, like many other countries across the globe. Today, we need even stronger determination to be in solidarity, solidarity to collectively and globally fight against terrorism. On our part, we are committed to continuing to fight all terrorist organizations with equal determination together with the international community. So we should not separate terrorists like PKK. We also consider PYD and YPG as a terrorist organization and branch of each other. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I ask if Mrs. Lisa Chambers is in the hall. No. So we move further. The next speaker will be Jose Madeiros from Portugal, and after him, Mr. Volsky.
Mr. Jakovice,
from Georgia. But, dear friends, there's a very, very important information to you, so that tellers have asked me to remind you that the voting is taking place in the King David, the building hall. Is it over there?
Yes.
This is some 10 meters. In this building, yes, just in some 10 meters. The voting is taking place in there, and you have until 11 o'clock to cast your vote for the President and Vice Presidents of the Assembly. So that please take your time and fulfill your very important responsibility in this meeting. Thank you. So first we go to Portugal with Mr. Jose Medeiros.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, dear colleagues, let me begin welcoming parliamentary colleagues from Georgia, our hosts, and greet the magnificent people of Georgia. I want to express some impressions about the relevance of our organization, the merit of our work, and the contribution to peace, cooperation, and the prosperity of our peoples. However, these questions do not arise. After all, we are politicians, we believe in politics and the solutions that it provides. As Clausewitz taught us, the war is the continuation of the politics by other means. Therefore, it's in the hands of the politicians to do or not to do the war. And we are politicians, and that is our historic responsibility. And the proof of that is the fact that during all days of the year, in our meetings and outside them, our organization can keep open the doors of dialogue, avoid conflicts, and make negotiation the most powerful weapon for peace and prosperity of our people from Vancouver to Vladivostok. Allow me to call attention to the civilizational value of the political work that we do here, and that's the reason of being here. Discuss, negotiate, and decide. Return to discuss, renegotiate, and rediscuss, and decide always. And once again, rejecting other methods to resolve our divergences, tensions, and even conflicts. Never leave the table of negotiations and dialogue. Many people find little, but they are not to be discovered a better formula to solve these problems, respecting the values of human life, individual freedom, and the right of the peoples to territorial integrity, and to choose their way to the international community. We can call this collective emotional intelligence. I think so. The alternative to these ways is barbarism, misery, and human slavery, and consequent march to self-destruction of the human species. As a Portuguese, born in Portugal, even in time of dictatorship and empire, son of a Portuguese mother born in Africa, in the time of the empire was going from Europe to Asia, I tell you, it's always possible to find the positive aspects, however complex and difficult the relation among our people have been. In our case, even the relations based on slavery and people who once fought and were oppressive. If this is possible for us, it's much also possible in other places and other countries, and within our organization that wish as voluntary adherence. This must have a political significance. We must always have in mind our duty bring to peace, prosperity, and progress to humanity, preserving always the dialogue, the negotiation, the cooperation side as the only civilized way to resolve our divergences. I have no doubt that this is the best contribution we can give to our people and the international community. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And then we have the last important contributions by Mr. Chapardis first, and then after him we will have Mr. Peter Grant from the UK, and then Earl Gretchen from Canada, and the last speaker on our list is Arte Dade from Albania. But we will start with Mr. Chapardis, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Time has come for all of us to wrap up very important Parliamentary Assembly meeting in Tbilisi, and I have a couple of inchoate thoughts to share with you. Well, it is true that the proliferation of non-states, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, Transnistria, Crimea, discredit the Helsinki Convention. We should value the OSCE for what it does well, rather than focus on the cleavages it fails to breach. The OSCE, in my opinion, does two things effectively: security and human rights monitoring. And the bottom line is this: the OSCE is indispensable. Europe is profoundly insecure, and we must value every breach, and in this regard, OSCE PA is especially indispensable. We are experiencing a rupture in our security architecture that is profound. With Crimean annexation, 3 key settlements were violated of the 20th century. First, the settlement of 1919, which held the nation states rather than empires are the proper members of the international system. Secondly, the settlement of the 1945, which held that citizenship takes precedence over ethnicity. Thirdly, the settlement of 1991, which held that the borders of the post-Soviet states are inviolate. Now Germany, the current chairman of office, is one of the traditional advocates of sustained engagement and communication in Europe. That sustained engagement is indeed a prerequisite for diplomatic conflict management, if not resolution, and that was key in holding Europe together against a multitude of centrifugal forces. Europe no longer needs consensus only. In parliamentary forums, debating policy and acknowledging cleavages is just as important. Representative governments and party politics are meant to allow the political system to deal with complex questions and interlinked agendas. What we are seeing these days is messes estranged for parliamentary democracy, reducing a series of complex issues to yes or no questions. Devastating referenda that do a disservice to democracy are thriving in Europe. The time has come, looking at Doris Burnett, to think a bit the unthinkable manner and to go beyond consensus building to alliances and meaningful disagreements. If ever was the time for interparliamentary cooperation, ideological debates, inter-party solidarity and value-driven cooperation, this time is our time. This is our responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chabarais. Thank you very much. And then Peter Grant from UK.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. President, or in the words of our old language in Scotland, Matan Vagus Morantangu Jeriv. Can I begin by offering my own deepest condolences to all those who have been victims of terrorist attacks in Istanbul, in Dhaka, in Baghdad, and most recently in Medina. As Muslims around the world prepare to mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan, we stand beside them in their absolute condemnation of these murderous acts, which have nothing whatsoever to do with the teachings of Islam. The ideology of the terrorists is not the ideology of Islam, it's the ideology of hatred, of bigotry and of violence, and we all have a duty to speak out, not only against these violent acts, but against the violent words and hate-filled language which encourage them. In this regard, I congratulate our colleagues from Lithuania for the amendments they have secured in the First General Committee to remind us all of our responsibility not to speak or to write in a way that promotes or encourages hatred and violence of any kind. In the United Kingdom, we have seen since the EU referendum an increase of 400% in racist and other hate-filled crimes. I believe this is not because of the people who voted to leave the United Kingdom, to leave the European Union. It's because of the xenophobic and racist language that has been used for too long in UK media and newspapers. For example, we've seen people of Indian and Pakistani descent stomped in the street and told to go home. We've seen cards distributed outside a school describing our Polish neighbours as nothing better than vermin. An English-born Member of Parliament was abused in language here and told to go back home to Africa. A Polish cultural community centre was set on fire. A halal butcher was set on fire. For the avoidance of doubt, I'll say again, most people who voted to leave the EU are horrified by these incidents, but the way that the referendum campaign was conducted in the media has given encouragement to the minority who now believe that they have popular support for their heinous crimes. Friends, we cannot pretend that we don't know where this leads. Europe has been through this nightmare once before. We cannot and we must not let it happen again. It's incumbent on all of us, politicians and the media, to turn away from the xenophobic language. I want to see all politicians in the United Kingdom following the example of our First Minister in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, and saying to citizens of all nations who have chosen to live in our country that they are welcome. Scotland is a European nation. We always will be a European nation. We voted 62% to remain a member of the European family, and that's what we want to do. And to all citizens of the EU and further afield who've chosen to live in Scotland, our message to them is that you are welcome. We are grateful for the positive contribution you've made to our country. You've chosen to make Scotland your home. Scotland is where you belong. We will do everything in our power to protect your right to live in peace in Scotland for as long as you want to. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And then Mr. Earl Freshen from Canada, and after him, Artedade from Albania.
Thank you, Mr. President. Energy security truly is a global challenge that calls for strong multilateral cooperation among our countries. Energy is the backbone of any economy and thus of our security. A healthy energy sector must be able to support the day-to-day needs of our people, sustain the growth of our economies, and contribute to the sustainability of our environment and natural resources. According to the International Energy Agency, the world's demand for energy could grow by nearly 1/3 by the year 2040. What impacts will this growing demand have on our relationships? We must plan proactively to ensure that our common security is not affected by tensions over energy. As the international community continues to transition towards lower carbon economies with more efficient energy systems, we must keep diversifying our energy sources. We need renewable technologies and resources to give birth to new industries, and we need research and development and innovation to revitalize older ones. At the same time, though, we must recognize that oil and gas are going to be needed for the foreseeable future, and that we should respect those countries that use these resources in a responsible manner. The facts are that in Canada, almost 20% of our primary energy supply comes from renewable resources, such as hydroelectric, wind and solar power. We are the second largest producers of hydroelectricity in the world and are continually investing in other renewable sectors. The fact that over 80% of our electricity comes from renewable energy shows our commitment to using the right energy source for the right energy need. But we are just as proud of our oil and gas industry. We have the third largest oil reserves in the world and are fourth and fifth largest producers of oil and gas, respectively. We're also the second largest producers of uranium, with the largest deposit of high-grade uranium in the world. Canada is a stable democracy with a strong economy. We represent a secure, reliable, and ethical source of energy for the world's future. The Canadian oil and gas brand is well respected throughout the world by those that are knowledgeable about the industry. We have some of the strongest regulations on the planet. We demand that oil and gas activity be monitored, that producers properly respect landowners, and that companies adhere to rules of proper reclamation. A prime example of this is our oil sands near Fort McMurray in my province of Alberta. Not only is its air cleaner than most cities, but the limited area that is used for open-pit mining, which removes the oil from the sand, is reclaimed into some of the most luscious forests imaginable. These reclamation projects are further monitored for 40 years after the reclamation is completed. Anyone that sees what we do understands why we are so passionate about this industry and why we bristle at misinformation used as a wedge by competitors to limit Canada's contribution to the world's market. All of this being said, we know that we can learn from the experiences of others in the same way that others can learn from us. And I would like to end by thanking our Georgian hosts who have put on such an excellent conference and shown us true hospitality. Madloba Tbilisi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the last speaker, she comes from Albania, and now we concentrate to hear what is the message of Mrs. Dade.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, allow me to start by joining the other speakers in thanking the host country, Georgia, for its hospitality and in congratulating the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly President, Ilka Kanerva, for his brilliant work during his mandate on behalf of the Albanian delegation. The 25th annual session of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly has shown the importance of this vast regional forum and of the contributions of the legislative institutions to the solution of the challenges through peaceful and democratic dialogue, but also the necessity of effective enactment of all binding instruments and implementing mechanisms of OSCE. Our debate has emphasized our commitment to the security issues and to the human dimension of security, as well as our challenges in the economic and environmental dimension. Only this year, under the German presidency, the OSCE PA has been organizing a number of very important parliamentary activities, tackling from the protracted conflicts issues to those concerning anti-Semitism, parliamentarian control on security and defense structures, and so on. Today, we all agree that terrorism and violent extremism are becoming the biggest threats, peace and worldwide security have ever faced and most concerning challenges in Europe and OSCE area. We have been deeply shocked at the last terrorist attacks in Istanbul, where most of us have been passing through on our way to this conference, Dhaka and Baghdad. We express our most sincere feelings of sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims and the full solidarity with all peoples who suffered by such brutal atrocities. Coming from a country with excellent religious tolerance, we know that extremism and terrorism has nothing to do with any religion. The fight against violent extremism has triggered the most comprehensive action to defeat terrorism, not only by force, but also by eradicating its roots. And Albania is fully part of this effort, with concrete engagement at the global level, in the region and at home, as a committed member of NATO and member of the Counter-ISIL coalition. The way we will work together to face this challenge and win this fight will shape in many ways our lives and our common future. So we must defeat them not only militarily and destroy their financial machine, but above all, to win this war on terror, we must fight the roots of extremism, the poverty, social injustice, the exclusion and discrimination worldwide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, our friend. Very valuable message. Thank you very much indeed. And now it means that that concludes also the general debate here in our annual session. Thank you very, very much about your speeches and contributions. And then we move quickly to the report by the Treasurer. I call Mrs. Doris Barnet, Treasurer of the Assembly, to present her report. Please.
Vielen Dank, Herr Präsident, liebe Kollegen. Es ist mir eine sehr große Freude, Ihnen zum ersten Mal nach meiner Wahl zur Schatzmeisterin in Helsinki im letzten Jahr Ihnen die Finanzen unserer Organisation vorzulegen. Ich möchte damit beginnen, dass ich meinem Vorgänger, Herrn Roberto Battelli, ganz, ganz herzlich danke für seine hervorragende Arbeit, die er immer sehr nüchtern, sehr unaufgeregt gemacht hat. Und unser Haushalt war und ist in Ordnung. Vielen Dank, Roberto. Ich will es kurz machen. Meinen ausführlichen Bericht können Sie natürlich erhalten und selbstverständlich stehe ich Ihnen auch jederzeit für Fragen offen. Ich bin froh, dem Plenum heute die Finanzen vorlegen zu können und Ihnen sagen zu können, dass sich unser Haushalt auch weiterhin in guter Ordnung befindet. Das haben auch die Revisoren, die externen Revisoren berichtet. Und wir haben dem Ständigen Ausschuss am letzten Freitag diesen Haushalt vorgelegt. Der Ständige Ausschuss hat ihn auch einstimmig angenommen und die Zahlen für das nächste Haushaltsjahr so, wie sie Ihnen vorliegen, gebilligt. Das Sekretariat und ich haben sehr vertrauensvoll zusammengearbeitet und Sie können versichert sein, dass wir auch dass der Haushalt auch die entsprechenden Anforderungen der Haushaltsführung berücksichtigt. Vor allem, dass wir nur das Geld wirklich ausgeben, was wir unbedingt brauchen, weil wir uns sehr wohl in der Verantwortung unserer Steuerzahler wissen. Es gibt keine wesentliche Erhöhung unseres Haushaltes. Bitte bedenken Sie, dass der Haushalt über Jahre praktisch konstant geblieben ist. Jetzt haben wir eine kleine Erhöhung auch wegen der leichten Anhebung der Löhne unserer Mitarbeiter. Die Anhebung beträgt 59.000 €. Ich verstehe sehr wohl, dass wir in unseren Parlamenten konfrontiert werden mit dem Sparwillen unserer Haushälter, unserer Regierung, und so haben wir den Haushalt Ihnen auch vorgelegt. Und bitte bedenken Sie, 59.000 € für unsere ganzen Staaten bedeutet für Länder, die einen Beitrag von 1% leisten, dass sie jetzt 590 € im Jahr mehr bezahlen, oder Länder, die nur 0,05% leisten, 29 € bezahlen. Also deswegen habe ich die Bitte, unterstützen Sie unsere Organisation, indem Sie doch vielleicht auch mal darüber nachdenken, den Haushalt leicht zu erhöhen. Das ist etwas, was ich mir für die nächste Zeit vorgenommen habe, auch mit Ihnen zu sprechen. Denn wir können nicht darauf vertrauen, dass unsere Länder für spezielle Angelegenheiten, zum Beispiel für Seminare, zum Beispiel für Extratreffen bestimmter Ausschüsse, dann immer das Geld einfach spendiert oder zusätzlich bereitstellt oder auch zusätzliche Mitarbeiter bereitstellt. Darauf können wir uns nicht verlassen. Ein eigener, sicherer Haushalt ist das Wichtigste. Und ganz zum Schluss lassen Sie mich ganz, ganz herzlich danken, hier in Tbilisi, dem Parlament von Georgien, seinem Präsidenten, den Kolleginnen und Kollegen des Parlaments für die wunderbare Organisation unserer Versammlung. Und es war wirklich eine große Freude und ist immer noch eine große Freude, hier Gast sein zu dürfen. Aber mein Dank gilt auch den Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeitern des Sekretariats, dass sie auf die sehr sparsame Haushaltsführung achten. Mein besonderer Dank gilt natürlich Gustavo Palares, mit dem ich den Haushalt zusammen mache, aber auch unserem Generalsekretär Roberto Montella, der uns bei allem immer unterstützt. Aber der Dank gilt auch an alle Mitarbeiter, die hier dafür sorgen, dass unsere ganzen Versammlungen jedes Mal ein Erfolg werden. Herzlichen Dank.
Thank you, our Treasurer. We also want to thank you about your valuable contribution. And I'm pleased to tell you that at our meeting on Friday, the Standing Committee unanimously approved the budget for the next financial year starting on the 1st of October this year. So, do you have any questions? No? Thank you. We move forward, and then to the report by the Secretary General, Mr. Roberto Montella. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also will be very short. I already reported to the Standing Committee and I've distributed my report. It's on the racks. It's an extensive report. It was distributed a week ago exactly to maybe trigger some questions or some interest from your side. I've distributed also in Vienna to the Permanent Council a week ago so that maybe also the governments might have an interest in our work and might suggest you some questions. So I will not walk you through all the reports. I'll just limit myself to a few highlights. But first of all, let me first thank our Georgian hosts for this great event. Speaker Upashvili, the government, all the staff of the parliament. You've done a remarkable work. I know normally the thank you to the host country is something that we do everywhere, and it's something that you might think it's a rhetorical thing. But here I hear from all my colleagues, all the people who have done this for 24 years, that it is really outstanding. From the last person who has put the carpets here, to the electricians, to the cameramen, the drivers, all the people who have worked together with us, the liaison officers, and of course at the highest level of your cabinet. They have done a great job, and so the thank you notes that you hear, it's not just the normal rhetoric that you would hear in every meeting, it's really coming from the heart. So thank you very much, because this was my first experience in this job, and I really like to thank you for this. The other point I would like to make is that, as this was my first experience, the conduct of this assembly from our side, from the OSCE Secretariat side, was mainly done by my colleagues, Gustavo, Semyon, Odile, Kurt. They are the ones who have done this with a lot of experience in the past. As I have used the word common sense for the first 6 months of my tenure, I thought the best thing to do was to let them do their job. They know what to do, and try to observe, try to give some ideas. But I basically let as much work be done by Gustavo, by Odile, by Semyon, by Kurt. They are the ones who have done this with experience in the past, and I must say thank you to them also, because it's thanks to them that this... I've been 6 months in this job. I focused my job on two main priorities, an internal reform of the Secretariat and an external outreach to our partners. Internally, I've tried to introduce some basic rules for the staff, some rules and regulations that would give a bit more security to the staff. Now, everybody has signed new contracts based on rules and regulations which are recognized by the Bureau, and they are the foundation on which we want to build a new modern OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. On the external side, I have tried to reach out to the ODIHR, to the OSCE governmental side, to the other institutions, because I have one clear point in mind, is that I think those who have established the OSCE, those our founding fathers in 1975, they thought there are sets of values that we have to defend and there are sets of problems in the OSCE regions. And so let's put together a number of institutions which are all tools to address those problems. So rather than focusing on our self-promotion or our institutional self-promotion, we should try to put all the assets that we have, and here we have 323 members of parliament, it's the representatives of 1 billion people. This is our asset that we offer to the solutions of the problems in the OSCE regions and to defense of the values that the OSCE has. So I believe very much in working in synergies with our partners, and I will continue to work in this direction, of course, if this is the will of the members of parliament. I'm here to serve you. Les activités qu'on a développées dans les derniers mois, je ne vais pas vous les présenter tous, vous les avez déjà vus à la commission permanente il y a quelques jours et ils sont déjà présentés dans le rapport. Je voulais juste dire un grand merci à tous ceux qui ont participé directement à ces activités. Le plus grand patrimoine de l'Assemblée parlementaire, ce sont les parlementaires. Nous, le secrétariat, on est là juste pour faciliter votre activité. Mais c'est vous qui donnez la visibilité à nos activités, c'est vous qui nous donnez aussi la ligne et les idées pour faire des activités sur le terrain. Et donc, c'est un grand merci à tous les membres du Parlement qui ont participé et à ceux qui participeront dans les prochains mois. On a une session de automne à Skopje qui sera très intense, mais il y aura aussi beaucoup d'élections. On aura des élections en Biélorussie, on aura des élections en Russie, on a une élection en Géorgie, ici, en octobre, très importante. On a des élections au Monténégro, en Moldavie et aux États-Unis d'Amérique. Donc, j'espère que beaucoup de vous vont participer dans ces missions dans une position de leadership ou dans une position d'observateur. Mais merci à tous les membres du Parlement qui participent. Mi permetterà, Presidente, di dire di nuovo due parole in italiano. Raramente ho usato l'italiano nelle sessioni dell'Assemblea parlamentare, ma lo faccio perché voglio usare questa occasione per fare a lei un profondo ringraziamento. Oggi con questa sessione si concludono i 2 anni del suo mandato. Lei ha guidato l'Assemblea probabilmente durante gli anni più difficili degli ultimi 25 anni. C'è stata la crisi in Ucraina, intorno all'Ucraina, c'è stata la crisi migratoria, abbiamo una grossa crisi, il terrorismo internazionale. Lei ha anche gestito con grande capacità e delicatezza il passaggio di una nuova leadership al segretariato internazionale. Non era una cosa scontata, sappiamo tutti quanti elementi anche emozionali e personali c'erano in questa vicenda. Però lei è riuscito a tenere la barra dritta, a portarci in un porto sicuro e devo dire grazie alla sua leadership e garantire ovviamente a tutti i membri che lavoreremo con la stessa intensità e con la stessa esperienza e con la stessa professionalità con il nuovo Presidente che l'Assemblea sceglierà oggi. Grazie mille signor Presidente, sono a disposizione per qualsiasi domanda.
This was one of the evidences that we have succeeded to find a very, very good Secretary General for our organization. He has succeeded very well in his various activities to modernize or hold the activities of the Copenhagen, and we can thank Roberto Montella in various ways about his valuable contribution. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you. And then number 5, we will now consider the draft Tbilisi Declaration, which consists of the final resolutions from each committees together with the supplementary items referred to the general committees which we considered by the drafting committee yesterday. We have already agreed the supplementary items, 3 of them. First, strengthening relations between the OSCE PA and the OSCE itself. Secondly, unrestricted access of members of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly attending official OSCE events and other parliamentary activities. And thirdly, the need to equip passenger aircraft with additional technical means for monitoring conditions on board in real time in the plenary. So under paragraph 2 of Rule 39, no further amendments can be proposed at this stage. Yes, please.
Господин председатель, Морозов, российская делегация. Мы внимательно посмотрели на проект Тбилисской декларации и обратили внимание, что все резолюции, которые мы рассматривали, они легли в основу содержания этого документа. А резолюция Ковалева о необходимости оборудования гражданских воздушных судов, то есть направленная на безопасность в условиях террористической угрозы, которая также была рассмотрена в формате дополнительного пункта в соответствии с правилами процедуры, вынесена в приложении. Это что означает? Мы хотели бы, чтобы она была такая же, равная, как и другие резолюции.
Honestly, I don't have the answer, but I'm looking after Mr. Bones. If somebody could explain this relevant question.
He's been called. Bonus is a teller.
He's teller, yes, exactly. He is not in the hall. But somebody else. Sorry? We are calling to Mr. Lord Bones so to get the right answer. So can you wait for a while so that this is good to know anyway. Yeah, yes. But first of all, we vote on the resolutions passed by each of the 3 committees, and then we will take the supplementary items that were sent to the committees. In accordance with paragraph 3, rule number 39, the draft committee met and produced this draft declaration and draft resolutions of the Assembly, as well as preamble. And we know that it was Lord Bones who chaired the drafting committee. There are some minor technical changes in the text before you, but there are no changes of substance in anything the drafting committee has done on our behalf yesterday. We will now consider the draft declaration. If anyone wishes to object to the paragraph, only the following may speak. First, 1 speaker against, secondly, 1 speaker in favor, and then the rapporteur or chairman. Is this all right? Yes. And now we have Lord Bones with us. And Lord Bones, we have one question by Russian delegation, and please could you repeat your question again when Lord Bones can hear that one, please.
Господин Бонс, мы рассматривали в течение этих 3 дней резолюции в виде дополнительного пункта в соответствии с правилами процедурами. И вдруг увидели, что резолюция нашего коллеги Ковалева вынесена в отдельное приложение вне общего содержания. Поэтому мы хотели бы исправить эту ошибку или получить ответ, почему это так сделано.
Thank you very much indeed. As members will know, supplementary items that attract no amendments can be placed on the agenda for the expedited procedure, and this was one of the such items. In the Rules of Procedure 21.3, there is a phrase which says, if carried, the item shall be included in the final document as an annex. My interpretation of that is that it is added to all the other supplementary items, and I, unless anybody has any objection at all, see no purpose or point at all in the word annex appearing in what will be the actual published declaration. It will merely be listed amongst all the other supplementary items which have been agreed. The word annex is there and was included by the Secretariat and the Drafting Committee just to draw attention to the Drafting Committee and other delegates that it was one of the resolutions which had been considered under Rule 21.3. But in short, Mr. President, I see no purpose at all in maintaining the word annex, and when it's actually printed and published and ceases to be a draft document, it will be indistinguishable from the others.
Thank you very much, and you're satisfied with this explanation. Thank you. And now, representative from Israel.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks for the Georgian for the great hospitality. Thank you so much. I heard a lot of things around terrorism in those days, and I just want to emphasize something. I heard the name, and we paid condolences for the Turkish, for Dhaka, for Saudi Arabia, for Paris, for Brussels. I didn't hear the name Israel, that just 3 days ago, a little girl was slaughtered in her bed, 13-year-old, when a Palestinian terrorist get inside the house and stab her to death. So I just want to say something, and perhaps it wouldn't be PC, but I'm, as a terrorism expert, counterterrorism, wrote books around these issues and have many first-hand research with Islamists and radical Muslims who are not speaking about Islam as a whole. For sure, they are the first victims. But let's say that there is a problem right now with Islamist terrorism, and I think that without saying this, you cannot combat this issue. This is a big problem right now in the whole world. We are in the middle of a war, and Israel, as the only stable democracy in the Middle East, feel that and in the front line of that war. I think that this great forum can use this forum also to speak out about this issue, to put the right things on the table, to be able to define the enemy, not to speak about foreign fighters, but to speak about terrorist foreign fighter, to speak about jihad tourism, to speak about those things in a very crystal clear way, because without that, we'll lose the battle, all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. But dear friends, we know that the general debate has concluded already, so that it was a place for those kind of comments and opinions. It was already in our general debate. Unfortunately, this is now the procedure of our declaration.
Mr. Chair, I have a point of order.
Okay, point of order to Canada.
I just want to ensure that terrorism is terrorism is terrorism, and it's not assigned to any religion, whether it's Christian terrorists or Muslim terrorists or Islamic terrorists. We can call every person who does commit heinous crimes as terrorists, and we should never assign a religion to them, because no religion allows terrorism. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We don't continue. I don't give any extra force to anybody from this perspective. It's necessary to continue. And now we go draft declaration of the first committee. We will now vote on the preamble and paragraphs 1 to 70 of the draft declaration. Does anyone want to separate vote on any of these paragraphs? No, thank you. Not any objections, so that the paragraph 1 to 70 are agreed to. Then we move to Committee 2. We will now vote on paragraphs 71 to 107 of our draft declaration. Does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? 71 to 107. Any objections? I can't see anybody. Thank you. So 71 to 107 are agreed to. Then third committee, paragraphs 108 to 146 on the draft declaration. Not any specific separate vote on any of these paragraphs. Any objections? No. Thank you very much. 108 to 146 are agreed to. And then I'll stop for a while. Very important information still once more, because I have to remind you that voting for the President and Vice Presidents of the Assembly will conclude at 11 o'clock, you know. So that we have very tight schedule, and now it's utmost time to fulfill your duties. Thank you. So we now come to consider the supplementary items from the three committees. We have already adopted in the plenary the items of strengthening relations between OSCE PA and OSCE, and unrestricted access, and on the need of equipped passenger aircraft and so. So we will now move straight to the next supplementary item. Yes. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole what concerns possible contributions of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly to developing effective response to crises and conflicts? So it means that we will take paragraphs 1 to 17. Any objections to the resolution? No. Thank you very much. The resolution is agreed to. The conflict in Georgia. Is Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? Yes. It means paragraphs 1 to 19. Any objections to the resolution? No, thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Reconsolidating European security as a common project. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? Paragraphs 1 to 12. Any objections to the resolution? No, thank you. Resolution is agreed to. Republic of Moldova, the same thing. Paragraphs 1 to 17. Any objections? No, thank you. Resolution is agreed to. Enhanced cooperation and confidence-building measures in the Baltic Sea region, meaning paragraphs 1 to 25. Any objections? No, thank you. Resolution is agreed to. Acting against corruption in the OSCE region to strengthen the rule of law. Paragraphs 1 to 14. Objections? No, thank you. Resolution agreed to. Violations on human rights and fundamental freedoms in Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol. It means paragraphs 1 to 33. Any objections? No, thank you. Resolution is agreed to.
Hang on. Sorry, we missed one.
We missed one of those. It is Chernobyl disaster, meaning paragraphs 1 to 20. Any objections? No. Resolution is agreed to. Sorry. Law enforcement coordination to prevent child sexual exploitation and trafficking by known sex offenders. Paragraphs 1 to 22. Any objections? No, thank you. It's agreed to. A call for OSCE action to address violence and discrimination. Paragraphs 1 to 8. Any objections? No, thank you. It's agreed to. The rights of refugees. Refugees means take paragraphs 1 to 11. Any objections? No, thank you. It's agreed to. Security challenges of migration, paragraphs 1 to 10. All right for everybody? Thank you. It's agreed to. Integrating gender-based analysis and gender mainstreaming in the response to migrant and refugee crises, paragraphs 1 to 21. Any objections? No, thank you. Resolution is agreed to. The 30th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster was already.
Yeah.
We can decide that another time. So the final vote on the Tbilisi Declaration. We will now consider the Tbilisi Declaration as a whole. Is there any objections to the declaration as a whole? Russian delegation, please.
Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги, российская делегация конструктивно участвовала в обсуждении всех предлагаемых резолюций. Мы считаем, что на 25-й сессии мы смогли участвовать в этом диалоге, в котором практически все делегации парламентской ассамблеи смогли сказать свою точку зрения, позицию. Но вместе с тем есть несколько резолюций, которые никак не способствуют укреплению европейской безопасности, доверия и не служат развитию диалога между членами парламентской ассамблеи. В большей степени они носят политизированный характер. Поэтому мы не можем положительно голосовать за общий пакет Тбилисской декларации и резолюции.
Okay, anybody else? If no, so we will now vote by show of the hands. Will all those in favor of the Tbilisi Declaration as a whole please raise your voting cards?
Are you voting yourself?
No.
Dear colleagues, will all those against the Tbilisi Declaration as amended as a whole, please raise your voting cards.
Against. No.
Against. Yes.
Against. Six. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Any abstentions?
Seven. Do you want to announce it or shall I?
Yes. It's in favor.
Seven abstentions.
I think there were more. No? Thank you. So the result is 122 for, 6 against, and 7 abstentions. Congratulations, the Tbilisi Declaration has been adopted. I think that we concluded the adoption of Tbilisi Declaration, and now, as far as I know, we could have a cup of coffee. We deserve it. Thank you, colleagues.
What is going to happen now?
Coffee.
So now
Please.
we pause.
Please correct me.
Sorry.
Now we pause until the results of the elections are available. There is nothing to do until the result of the election.
Can you please take your seats, please?
Please, take the seats. Please hurry up. Take your seats. We still have some formalities. And before we go further, we have one point of order. If you are ready to say just a few words, very shortly, very shortly, while you are taking your seats.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank you as President of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. Well done. Good job, Mr. President. And all best further in your activities. I would like to thank to Tbilisi, to Georgia. We had a really good stay here. It was very good organized. And welcome to Skopje. Skopje is in the last 2 days of September and first day, 2 days of October. So please feel free to come, both you, your spouses, companions, and you're very welcome to come in Skopje, Macedonia. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tbilisi, and see you in Skopje. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And now, do we have any items on the list anyway? Any more? Maybe we have, because we have the announcement of the results of the elections. And I have asked Lord Bones to take the floor from the podium. And Lord Bones, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President. The results for the election of the President of the Assembly are as follows. Ms. Christine Muttonen received 91 votes. Mr. Alan Neri received 26 votes. Mr. George Tesreli received 85 votes, and there was one spoilt ballot paper. According to the rules, as no candidate has obtained an absolute majority of the votes cast, a second ballot will be held between the two candidates who obtained the most votes in the first ballot, namely Ms. Muttonen and Mr. Tesreli. And voting will begin at 11:45 and close at 12:15. The results of the vice presidential elections will be announced later. So please vote as quickly as possible in the shortest of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lord Bones. And now, every one of us, we will use this time. In 5 minutes, the voting is going to start and open all the facilities of that. Okay, thank you.
How long the voting? How about?
So, dear friends, we have 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes to vote, and I can't imagine that somebody couldn't do it, because it's very exciting and equal moment for us. So that please go to the specific room for the elections and fulfill your duty, so that we will get very representative final result of the election. Thank you. So in 5 minutes the door will be closed.
Abi öyle kaldı. Çıkar ara. Ay tamam da o kadar. Bunda kadar. Ma telefonu içinde bakar orada kaldı. Oydu. Romelia giden var. Ahmet Katı'daki savcı da. Ay şimdi de ki ya.
To do something, I want to disturb you. Not by asking you to go for the voting, but to inform you about the committees, chairs, vice chairs, rapporteurs. And it's a very important element in our work. And I'm delighted to tell you that the first committee chair will be, surprisingly, Roger Vicker from the USA. Vice Chair Guillermo Picky from which country? Congratulations. Congratulations. And Rapporteur Margareta Cederfeld from Sweden. Then the second committee, the chair, she will be Nilsa de Sena from Portugal. And Vice Chair Artur Gerasimov, Ukraine. And Rapporteur Marietta Tidei, Italy. Italy is everywhere. What is your opinion, Roberto? That's very good. Yes.
No comment.
And then we move to the third committee. The chair will be José Sánchez Amor from Spain. over there. Exciting moment. Surprise, surprise, Vice Chair Ivana Dobčečiová from Czech Republic. Congratulations. I saw her somewhere. Yes, over there. And Rapporteur Kyriakou Hajiani from Cyprus. Over there. That's a hard job. Congratulations. So all of us, we want to cooperate with these team leaders, and you know that they have very, very demanding position when they are doing their basic work, and they need our support in various ways. So that it's important for our work in the PA that our committees are very strong and they are reacting very strongly in every single issue belonging to the area, belonging to the issues they are handling.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order. You have described the entire Bureau. Of course, we're still waiting for the new president, but there is another person in the Bureau that's still there, is the President Emeritus. So in a few minutes, you will be President Emeritus with no right to vote, but of course you will participate in our meetings. But I said it before in Italian, I just wanted to use this opportunity once again to thank you, President Caneva, for your great work, for your great leadership. It's been 2 difficult years. We have gone through difficult moments with the crisis in Ukraine and in and around Ukraine, the migration crisis, the threat of international terrorism, the change at the leadership of the Secretariat, and we felt your support all throughout this period. And you have displayed great leadership. I'm sure your successor will do the same. But we have a little present here, and it incumbs into me to give you a little present. So that's for you as a sign of thank you from all of us. So I know everybody's waiting. I mean, I'm not a very good entertainer, but I just
I need that package.
You need the
so thank you, Roberto, and it is pretty sure that none of us can succeed in this position without very, very close and confidential relations with the Bureau, with our office, with our international secretariat. It is necessary that the President can rely, and so that we have the same mood, mindset of our activities in the OSCE, so that I'm more than grateful for our international secretariat. They are fantastic people. Their commitment to our work is something special. I can't characterize. I'm admiring their attitude and creativeness, and we can, all of us, we can be proud about that. And I have understood that they are happy if your national delegations will be in touch with them, and it helps in various ways for each of us if you will be in contact with Copenhagen. But also with Vienna. Andreas Notelli is making also the excellent job in there, and we have repeatedly underlining that how important it is that Parliament side and governmental side can work together hand in hand. Of course, we understand that every parliament, every single parliament in your own countries, they have their own agenda, the idea of the parliament is slightly different compared with the idea of the government. But anyway, if they don't agree, if they don't have the same direction, it is a failure of the whole exercise. So that there should be always good combination, parliamentary side, governmental side. And I can say that one of the achievements we have realized under the last 2 years is to improve our performance together with Vienna, and that's very important in various ways as well. But once more, thank you Roberto, thank you Vienna and all of you at this table. And it's worth for the big hands for them. Thank you. Any objections? Okay. Skopje already invited us. Yeah. It's not necessary to do. We are waiting for Minsk, of course. That will be the next big step in our working. Where is Ukraine? Where is Belarusia? If Belarusia wants to say something, please. There's a big boss of the Belarusian delegation.
Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги, в общем-то я нашу работу на этой сессии начал с того, что на постоянном комитете как раз об этом и объявил и поблагодарил за доверие бюро нашей ассамблеи, которое в Копенгагене приняло это решение. Хочу тогда и всех коллег уже на нашем пленарном, я полагал просто, что руководители делегаций до своих делегаций довели мое выступление, но я присоединяюсь к выступлению представителя Черногории и тоже еще раз для всех говорю, что мы будем рады приветствовать вас на летней сессии, на 26-й сессии Парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ в Минске в следующем году. И хочу проинформировать вас, что мы уже сегодня приступили к этой подготовке. У нас была большая группа секретариата Палаты представителей здесь, в Грузии. Мы очень благодарны, я уже это выразил, господину Супашвили за то, что он создал все условия для того, чтобы эта группа продуктивно поработала, переняла тот опыт наших грузинских друзей, и чтобы в Минске мы сделали все возможное, чтобы и у нас вам понравилось всем. Поэтому приглашаем в Минск в следующем году, и мы обязуемся, что сделаем все для того, чтобы вы плодотворно и поработали, и отдохнули. Благодарю вас.
Thank you, Mr. Kuminski. Thank you very much about your kind words. Thanks a lot. And now we will vote about the European champion in the football. One thing is very sure, and it is that the winner will not be Finland. It's not a question about the ice hockey.
And there's also one team who's not represented among the participating states. Yeah. We don't have a Welsh delegation.
Is it sure that Lord Bones can come through so that you haven't seen him? Now it would be a very good time for Muttonen and Serratelli to have the speech, sales promotion speech.
Before finding out the result.
Yes.
give your closing speech.
Maybe it would be. If you mind, it's useful to do something necessary, and one of the elements is that that's a good manner that the President who is stepping down will have his own statement in this stage, and if you mind, while waiting the final results, I will make my speech, if it's all right for everybody. So, dear friends, dear colleagues, in a way I realize that you understand that it's also a little bit emotional moment for me. But I try to say a few ideas I have in my mind. Georgia in my mind is, of course, most important, but actually what concerns our activities. In my 2 years as President, the political situation and security environment has changed dramatically in our OSCE area, we know. The crisis in and around Ukraine continues to be one of the biggest challenges for the OSCE. And tensions have increased between East and West. Terrorism continues to claim far too many lives in our region and around the world, while migration is increasingly demanding our attention. In these times, it is very important to recall the validity of all 10 Helsinki Final Act principles. And friends, we have to reaffirm these principles even as they have been put to the test lately. I believe that reviving the spirit of Helsinki requires ensuring that the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly remains an assembly that is inclusive, open and transparent. I prepared a special paper entitled Our Common Vision for the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, which has been distributed here in Tbilisi. Its focus is on common vision and common approach. I have been working on translating these ideas into practice, and I hope that my successor will continue to do so. In this time of uncertainty and tension in OSCE area, it is all the more important to enhance constructive parliamentary dialogue and promote mutual understanding. We must find solutions to our challenges through political, not military means. Stability can only be sustainable if based on functioning democratic institutions of which parliaments are key. Our Assembly is a forum for interparliamentary international dialogue. While the name of this organization, as we all know, is an Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, what we are doing now actually, and should continue to do, is to work for security through cooperation and dialogue. Security is our common goal, while cooperation and dialogue are the means. And in addition, To being a forum for debate, the Assembly also has an operational dimension. Our responsibility as parliamentarians is to follow through the recommendations laid out in our resolutions and to translate our common position into concrete actions. This indeed will continue to be our biggest objective in the years to come. We need to focus increasingly on result-oriented activities, not only talking but acting. Our Assembly has distinct identity based on its values that unites us. Every one of us should promote our common values. There are many things we can do to help ensure that OSCE commitments are implemented in our own countries as well as at international level. We can promote issues of common interest, including by strengthening mechanisms for the prevention and resolution of conflict. We can contribute by developing the parliamentary dimension to mediation and also by promoting transparency and accountability of the OSCE. In this regard, it's highly positive that we have so many dedicated members serving as special representatives and in working groups that focus on specific challenges of the OSCE area and are dedicated to ensuring that the values of the OSCE are implemented in a concrete way. Thank you very much about that valuable work. These issues include inter alia, anti-terrorism, human trafficking, the Arctic, the Baltic Sea area, Mediterranean affairs and gender. One of my key priorities as President has been an effort to promote dialogue and increase contacts with the OSCE governmental and institutions. This is an asset for both sides. The PA has worked to develop dialogue within our organization from top to bottom. Active engagement with the chairmanship, meeting with the director of ODIHR, and close cooperation between our Copenhagen and Vienna offices and the OSCE field missions, I believe, are the organization's most effective ways of delivering services to people we are representing. The OSCE Parliamentary Assembly should continue to provide political support to organizations' work in the field through developing cooperative relationship and through our annual declarations. Together, we can increase the OSCE's comparative advantages in the other growth field of international organizations and develop means for mutually strengthening each other. I am pleased that there has been some concrete action to strengthen the Parliamentary Assembly's relationship with the OSCE's governmental side. The chairman of the OSCE, German Foreign Minister, Minister Steinmeier, two OSCE ambassadors also addressed side events here in Tbilisi dealing with migration and mediation are very good examples of the increased cooperation. Representatives from ODIHR also addressed parliamentarians about ODIHR's work with national parliaments. This was just the latest of many positive signs to improve cooperation between the OSCE PA and ODIHR over the years. I hope to see this trend continue, in particular within the election observation, which is one of our most important activities. There is no reason that PA and other OSCE institutions should be in opposition to each other, but rather should cooperate and complement each other's work in the most effective and efficient way possible. In this regard, I think it's very positive for the OSCE PA Works ad hoc committee on migration is so coordinating so closely with the OSCE informal working group on migration. members of the committee addressed the working group in June, and the committee's chair, Filippo Lombardi, will address the special permanent council meeting on migration later this year. It is important, while working closely in common issues, that we also make sure that our work doesn't overlap. Dear friends, I greatly appreciate the support given to me and all our members by the Secretariat in Copenhagen and Vienna. This is a great team spirit among the staff we have, and the ongoing efforts of Secretary General Roberto Montella to modernize our working methods and having very positive impact. New President will succeed without maintaining a close relation with them. It is the whole family idea. Every one of us should be supporting and cooperating with our team at the International Secretariat. And of course, I also thank you, colleagues, for the trust you have placed on me and for the opportunity to serve as your president for the past 2 years. And on behalf of the Assembly, again, my heartfelt thanks to the Georgian Parliament for all that you have done in hosting this session and for the exceptional hospitality during the past week. The special thanks as well to the interpreters who have done an excellent job under the demanding circumstances. Dear friends, thank you very much indeed. Lord Boms, are you somewhere in the neighborhood? Yes. Oh, over there. Please.
Mr. President, thank you for inviting me to speak. Can I just, on behalf of the tellers, Mrs. Arta Dade and Mr. Robert Patelli, report to you that the ballot for the President and Vice President have been carried out in accordance with the rules and indeed in accordance with the proceedings which were agreed between the candidates and the staff and the 3 tellers prior to the election commencing. Can I offer my thanks to all the candidates and indeed for their representatives who attended the polling room, and thank them for the cooperation in enabling the ballots to be carried out swiftly and efficiently. Most of all, I would like to offer my thanks to the staff of the International Secretariat under the leadership of Ms. Susanna Street from the procedural team, who have done all the work in preparing the papers, the ballot papers, and indeed the counting. And so now, Mr. President, if I can, before you announce it, but nevertheless on behalf of myself and in my tellers, offer to the successful candidates whom you will announce my congratulations on their result. Thank you very much.
No, we just read the numbers. So, here are the results of the election for the Assembly officers. In the election for the President, Mrs. Christina Muttonen received 86 votes, and Mr. George Tsereteli received 73 votes. I know. Thank you. So, there was one spoiled ballot, and I have the honor to inform you, to tell you that therefore Mrs. Muttonen is elected as President to the end of the year 2017 session. Congratulations in the names of the whole Parliamentary Assembly. And in the elections for vice presidents, I have also results in front of me. The votes: Ms. Vilja Aglekanaite Abramikine received 102 votes. Mr. Viktor Dobre received 93 votes. Azai Guliev received 119 votes. Isabella Santos received 120 votes. They were two spoiled ballots. Therefore, Mrs. Santos, Mr. Guliev, and Abramikaine are elected vice presidents for 3 years until the end of the year 2019. And then, please, as a successful candidate for president, Mrs. Muttonen had 1 year still to go in her term as a vice president. The fourth highest polling candidate for vice president, Mr. Dobre, is also elected as a vice president for 1 year until the end of the 2017 session. So this is a whole package, and in the names of the Parliamentary Assembly, we congratulate Mrs. Muttonen, we congratulate all the vice presidents of the Parliamentary Assembly. Congratulations. Then I ask if...
Before closing...
Then I ask if Mrs. Muttonen, if you have time and you have so many fellows around you, so if you want to say a few words to the Assembly.
Mr. President, we will quickly have a meeting of the Bureau, an informal meeting, if you can announce it.
Where?
And it will be in Hall 3.
In there?
No, unless there is no other place here to convene it.
Okay, before her presentation, I've informed you that we will have immediately after this, we will have the Bureau meeting. It's in these premises, but not in this building, it's over there, but immediately after this meeting, the Bureau meeting. Hall 3 in there.
Thank you.
And now our new president, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Elections are always very exciting and thrilling, you know that. and I want to thank you all for taking part in this democratic process of voting and electing me as your new president. I am very honored that you collectively voted for me and chose me to represent the vision of 56 parliaments. And you can be sure this is a responsibility that I won't take too lightly. As you all know, we are facing big challenges. But it is my strong belief that dialogue and debate will be able to succeed in the interests of the citizens of our countries. I would also like to thank my colleagues Alain and George for running a good and fair campaign. I'm looking forward to continuing my conversations with you all. We all have to continue and debate the issues that are important for our countries, to further develop and to further strengthen and improve our assembly. Special thanks and applause to Ilka Kanava, who has completed a tremendous job and left a legacy that will be hard for me to match. But be assured, Ilka, I will continue the reform process that you have started, and your vision will also be our vision for the next for the next years. And at least, or last but not least, I want to thank Georgia. I want to thank Georgia for having us here and hosting us in such a wonderful way and preparing this perfect annual session. Thank you all for taking part in this process of voting. Thank you for electing me, and I think we will have very interesting and very tough times which we have to face, and we will do it. We will succeed in our dialogue. Thank you very much.
And now, as a gentleman, also George Ceratelli wants to say a few words.
Congratulations that finally we ended this session, or ending the session. I'd like to congratulate, of course, Christine with this good step, and I think it will be very important for our Assembly to keep on track and to be all together. I earlier on addressed already about some points, about vision, about my feeling as one of the hosts here in Georgia and Tbilisi. Of course, politics are very peculiar, has a peculiar sides and angles. There are negatives, there are positives. So we have to think about positive things. Of course, many of you, and I appreciate that we had and we have and we will have the great relations with each other. It's a debates or beyond this hall. But I think that we need also the decent treatment. And I don't want to go into details of different things what happened or it could happen in future, but I believe that sessions like that, gatherings like that, you're coming to Georgia, it also will help to increase level of democracy and political culture in my country. I'd like to apologize if there was any uncomfortable situations for you, but as I said, it's a negative side of politics. I personally always for decent moves everywhere in politics, in life, and I appreciate that many people in this hall are in this mood. I'd like to thank you all, and we know that we are on the right track. I'd like to thank everybody who helped us to make this event very successful. I'd like to say just a few words about President Kanerva, about his dedication, about his devotion. He's been a good president and great friend. So let's see how we will feel with Christine, but I'm very hopeful that everything will be okay. We have a lot of challenges, so we don't have luxury to have a lot of clashes and disagreements. We need more agreement, more cooperation, more constructive dialogue, and we are politicians where one day we lose, one day we win. I'd like to cordially thank my supporters for their great passion, of being behind me, my support team and everybody. But as a last point, and of course, all of you who worked very hard. The last thing is I like that quote. I don't lose. I didn't lose. No, it's it's in the right way. I win or I learn. So that's it. In this case, I'll learn more. Thank you very much and good luck.
And then the next phase of our meeting is that the Speaker of the Parliament will have the floor, and I give the floor to our very good friend David, and you have something to say to our colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of course, there's reception, and you hardly had any meal in these days without my speech, so I have to speak now. In fact, I want to thank everybody who came to Georgia, who decided to participate in this event, and who gave us this privilege to host you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kanerva. I want to thank all the team of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, its secretariat, all the delegations who came here, who participated actively in these debates and who supported decision-making of our assembly.
Please, hey, hello. Hey, don't move in the hall now, and please, we will concentrate to listen to the Speaker of the Parliament. We will be very, very polite to the host of the whole exercise in here, so that please keep calm and sit down and don't speak whilst listening to the Speaker of the Parliament, please.
Yeah, and I'll finish very soon, of course, because it's the end of the event. We all have now other ideas in our heads to continue our life, our many businesses in our home countries. And just I want to say again, thank you. We tried our best. We tried to create the environment for a good session. If we succeeded, we'll be very glad. But we'll be especially glad if we see you again back to Georgia on business, on private affairs, whatever. You are always welcomed. With this, we wanted just to demonstrate once again that Georgia is taking very seriously all the issues related to OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, and our attempt to make it successful comes from that as well. So we are not only hosts, but we are participants of this great organization, and we will continue acting like this in Tbilisi and in other cities where we meet again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now, short information by Roberto.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We will just convene here the new Bureau members for 10 minutes before going into the reception. So if all the new officers of committees and new vice presidents and our new president can just gather here, we'll do also a family picture and just say a few announcements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now it's time to close the sitting, and it means that this point concludes our business at this session of the Assembly. And dear friends, we will meet in Minsk in July 2017. And it is really my pleasure to invite you to a reception immediately after I declare the 25th annual session of the Assembly closed. And so, to do that, I now declare the 25th annual session of the Assembly closed. Thank you very much.
Ilka, we just wait. Vediamoci qua. The new Bureau members, if they can all come here, we'll do so.
Absolutely, yes. It is absolutely the same feeling. Thank you, thank you, thank you.